Conor McGregor versus Tony Ferguson. Could anyone even imagine such a thing? And the fighters will become coaches for the next season of a Universal Fighter. What the hell is going on? I think this year in terms of PPV will pay off in full. Both athletes know how to talk, and it is not a problem for them to promote any event. Hello everyone, Fighters with You MMA Predictions channel. In this video, I will give a prediction for a potential fight between Cucuy and Conor McGregor. But before you start this video, do not forget to subscribe to the channel and like it so that many people around the world can notice this episode. Conor McGregor has been idle for a long time and is not particularly eager to return to the octagon. It is clear from his social networks that he spends most of the time with his family and has not yet been in his plans to return. But just a few days ago, Conor announced on his Instagram page that he was offered to lead the season of a Universal Fighter. He accepted this offer without hesitation. Everyone immediately began to argue who would be Conor's opponent, because there are a lot of ones. The first person people thought was Michael Chandler, but a few hours after the announcement that McGregor was offered to lead the tough, Tony Ferguson has come to the radar and announced that he has also been offered to become a coach, while the main promotion in the world has not officially announced anything. At the time of writing this script, everything is only at the level of rumors. Both fighters are now experiencing hard times in their professional careers. In the last 3 fights, Notorious was able to win only once and lose in an early manner to Dustin Poirier twice, and in the last confrontation he badly injured his leg. I think you saw what kind of injury it was and you understand why Conor took a long time to recover. There were rumors that during rehabilitation, McGregor used illegal substances, something like steroids, since he had not been tested at that time for about a year. From his photos you can see that he gained an impressive mass. In such a short time, I think it is problematic to gain so much muscle. As for Ferguson, he also has a lot of problems. Not only that, he goes for a series of defeats, and now 2 popular personalities may soon split the octagon. But who will be stronger? We will figure it out right now. Whether Conor will be able to return to his former level after injury, and much more awaits us in this video. Percussion style. Well, let's start with the infamous one. Conor, as I said above, has been idle for quite a long time. Not only did he not succeed in previous fights, he is not trying to fix it. On the same social networks, it can be seen that McGregor is relaxing on his yacht, and there is no talk of any fights. The most that can be noticed is the training on the pause and then on the light. There is no need to talk about any training, so clean on the camera to work, and again go drink your whiskey. Maybe this statement will seem a little rude, but alas, everything is so. Look at his previous fights. His technique, timing, sense of distance, everything is gone. Do you know why? Everything is connected with his break after the fight with Eddie Alvarez. Then he can be said to have hammered a bolt for MMA training and began to prepare for boxing, so he lost half of his advantages. Now let's move on to another legendary fighter, Tony Ferguson. That's Cucuy. It's another thing. Once a year, he at least performs, and we can more or less assess the current condition of the American. And this is understandable. He is no longer the fighter he was in 2017. He has lost his hand speed. The knockout punch that was at the beginning of his career. Just look at how he was knocked out hard by Chandler, and in the fight against Nate Diaz, Ferguson had big problems. For all the time that Tony was idle, he fought with guys from the lightweight division, and some of them gave competitive fights on his hands. And I want to tell you a lot that says a lot. Ferguson doesn't have the same power in his hands. Also, his body kicks, which were a problem, have lost their power. But I think Cucuy is capable of harming Conor. So the favorites in this aspect, I will choose the representative of America, Tony Ferguson, since his skills are with him, and he is still capable of defeating a veteran like him. Playing from the bottom. Now let's move on to the wrestling skills of the guys. What can I say about Ferguson? Finally, he was given a veteran like him with whom he could put on a show. Now he can breathe out calmly. Look at his previous opponents. He fought Michael Chandler, where it was not bad. I want to tell you, he fought back. He also went into the octagon with a not bad jitter Nate Diaz. He managed to get Ferguson down a couple of times, but most of the time Tony defended himself. As you may have noticed, each opponent is tougher than the previous one, and Tony did not whine. He worked out wrestling every day in the gym. Various sweeps, defense. You can say after so much bloodshed, he will soon become a wrestler himself. Of course, I was joking. Cucuy was very rarely the first to initiate a fight. The maximum is at the end of the round to consolidate the 5-minute period. As for the notary, his wrestling is nowhere lower. Dustin Poirier was able to transfer him. Just think about Dustin Poirier, who does not know how to fight at all, especially for the time that he spent outside the octagon. I think he did not conduct full-fledged wrestling training. As I said, only working on the pause on camera. Yes, we all saw that he's wrestling in his gym. But look who, at least you know who he is. The kid was just lucky. Conor came up to him and probably said like this, "Hey dude, let's fight you on camera. I'll mark you. Well, you don't work hard. Well, you understand." Most likely it was. His last fights are direct proof. The lack of fighting, protection from transfers, and so on. I don't argue that in the peak years, McGregor could stand up to a wrestler, but at the moment no. And there is no point for him to train her, since the fight is 100% likely to take place in a standing position. But if the fight goes downhill for some reason, then I'll have more faith in Tony. All the time he spent preparing for the wrestlers wasn't wasted. He learned enough information to drag Notorious down and make him knock. Cardio spirit. Now we move on to Conor's stamina, and here is an even more deplorable situation. Now I will explain why. Conor has been fighting in the lightweights for almost his entire conscious career, but there he experienced big problems with the gas tank, and here he gained a lot of muscles and will most likely compete in the welterweight division. It will be a miracle if he can survive to the end of the 3rd round, since his style of introducing the fight does not allow him to work economically. Various kicks, constant pressure in order to knock them out. All this will soon make itself felt. Now we move on to the endurance of the Cuban, and again Ferguson is head and shoulders above Conor. Just look at how he worked with the same Diaz. Yes, he was tired, but still he did not deviate from his game plan and worked. The same was in the duel against Darius and Oliveira. You also know the favorite, Tony will take a breather due to his hard training. But in terms of spirit, there is no favorite. Both fighters have sufficient cash and motivation. To be honest, I don't see the point for them to enter the octagon. Forecast. In this fight, I think Conor McGregor will win by knockout, but not def. In round 3, Ferguson will get a little tired, and Notorious will score him near the cage. Something similar awaits Tony.